Masses, it's the internet's Bob Fleming back again for another episode of your Cow Daily. This episode, we're going to talk about Shamima Begum and food shortages. At one time in your life, you would have thought, I'll never say those two things in the same sentence. You would think that, but today we're going to do that. I see they're starting to pop up in the stream. As ever, if you could let us know in the comments if you are around, because there's a lag on the stream. And as well, not as ever, but as of late, we're on day 6 of sleep deprivation due to having a border collie with the poos. It's the first 5 minutes on YouTube. I can't say the S word. And now I also have the poos. So we're pooing at a boot. Also, at the minute, I am on a house with no garden. So it's fantastic. He didn't make it up the street to the poo place. It was in the street and it was wet. I had to go and get a jug. You ever had to do that? Like, just have an absolute nightmare with dogs. Because I am. And honestly, if you want to watch a man like try and make seemingly complex things simple, complex. I can't even say complex, man. On day 6 of sleep deprivation, whilst trying desperately not to swear for the next at least 3.5 minutes, then stay tuned because I'm your kid. I am the emperor of this game. What else have we got going on? Have a nice day. Earworm rage is on. Sleep deprivation, you're not getting rid of it. I hoped that out of further negativity of my neighbours loving auto-tuned radio on a loop, that it would just at least change the earworm, but it hasn't done that. Have a nice day has gained earworm supremacy. I'm thinking there's like something really wrong with us at this point. Like earworms, you have them few days, it's raging, man. The Stereophonics. Can you imagine being followed round by the Stereophonics 24/7, like all your life? Like that's what it feels like. And that front lad, Kelly's called, he's very, very irritating. Can you imagine it? That's what's going on. I honestly don't know whether the collie is going to come bursting in here demanding to be taken out. In fact, I would say it's about 50-50. If so, it's probably going to be the shortest show yet, or potentially we might get half an hour in. But if I have to dart, that's why. It's a right rigmarole, get his lead on, run him up the street. Meanwhile, in better news, where three-legged dog is getting much better and he was running about yesterday. Apparently what he did, because he's forgotten about his back leg, he's still learning how to weigh properly and that. He did a handstand weigh because he forgot. How class is that? So let's do some of the things that would do. If you want to support us directly, go to patreon.com/cowdaily. That's patreon.com/cowdaily for all of your supporting building our institutions needs. Patreon.com/cowdaily. If you want to make a one-off donation to our work, you can go to the PayPal link in the description. Also, some people don't know we do audio as well. Some people on audio don't know we're on YouTube. How that works, I don't know. But we're trying to build a lot of them. Obviously, we've got a big presence on the audio side of things. So if you want to listen there, Android people tend to go to Spotify, Apple Podcast for your Apple people. If you're there, if you could leave a review, that would be very helpful. Cheers, no. Last thing, also, we're trying to get the channel monetized. YouTube.com/cowdaily. If you're watching this anywhere other than that, youtube.com/cowdaily. Also, every weeknight at 7, there is a premiere video. So get involved in the chat there. Last thing, I'm going to start doing something a bit different with Facebook, because at the end of the day, Facebook just are not going to monetize. We have like tried and all of that carry on. It's not happening because of a previous past so-called indiscretions. So what I'm going to start doing as an experiment is I'm going to start posting things on our YouTube channel. Like you can actually put posts on there. And if possible, then posting those on Facebook and just responding on the YouTube, because apparently that traffic drives the algorithm sometimes even more than making these videos. Wow. So if we could get even some of that over to there, where it would actually benefit us and sustain MDC. Yes, we just passed through the 5-minute mark. Effing flip sticks. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to start trying that going forward. Hopefully we'll get one more show off this week, and then I'm moving house again to a more stable accommodation, which I cannot wait for. Nice little garden for the dogs as well to sort of reunite, and I just cannot wait. We're all missing each other. My partner and I are missing each other. Dogs are all missing each other. My border collie, the last he saw of DJ, the 3-legged one, he had 4 legs, one of them rotting. So he just thinks his mates went off to die. It's probably why he's got the shits, because he's in mourning. It's just a bad scene. But soon the clans will be reunited, as will my brain, and the world shall then know peace. Happy days. Let's see who's in the comments before we move on. Zoe's in. Hello, Zoe. Are you up to yourself? El Boido is saying, Asterix watch. What is this relevant to? I don't know. Hitting the like button on vids also helps, apparently. If you could hit the like button whenever you see the vid and actually comment on it as well. And I will comment back. I want to have a bit chat about the topics and stuff, because I think I've just been a bit of a mug, really, and I'm still doing the whole Facebook thing, and Facebook just absolutely hate us. So why don't we not just like move all of our stuff over to where it's going to help us get monetized on the YouTube and actually do something more productive and create some work that way as we rise up the trendings. Right, what we do first? Let's have a look. I don't know. I know what we'll do. Well, not do her. That would be terrible. She's got enough trouble of her own. Shamima Begum. Oh God, wish I'd never. You know, you just wish you'd never said something. But that's sleep deprivation. Tune in, because I will be staying in some other carry on soon, most likely. Right, let's have a look at the StreamYard there. We've got it all lined up nicely there. Still got Zoe's comment up on the screen, like a true pro. Shamima Begum loses citizenship appeal. It was announced, I think within the last hour, actually. So by the time you're getting on this, if you're not watching live, it'll still be fresh. So this is what Sky are saying. War Kids, have a listen. I know what.
What their feeling was that perhaps it was legally untenable to keep it revoked. So I think in that respect, it is a surprise. When I interviewed her, I did ask her about this eventuality and what would happen if she didn't have her passport returned to her and her nationality given back. And she said, there is no plan B. The British government argument would be that the plan for her is to pursue the route through Bangladesh. Her father has some Bangladesh heritage, and that is why the British government argued that they are in a position to revoke her British nationality. Shamima Begum's counter-argument is that she's never been to Bangladesh at all. She has no links with Bangladesh, and if she went back there, then she could possibly face the death penalty. I haven't spoken to any of our contacts in the Kurdish authorities who control that part of northeast Syria yet. What I would say is that the Kurds more generally feel that the situation as it is at the moment, that is that there are hundreds of men, women and children with links to Islamic State in prison camps in northeast Syria. Well, they think that is untenable because they simply don't have the resources or the ability to keep these camps secure or put any of these individuals on trial themselves. And so they want Western nations in particular to bring their citizens back to their respective countries and put them on trial. So I suspect that this decision won't be entirely popular amongst Kurdish authorities, but we will chat to some and get their reaction. But I think probably it is a surprise, yes. And it is hard to see where Shamima Begum does go from here. You know, she has gone down a couple of legal routes now, has been unsuccessful at every turn, and so I'm not sure what her ability to appeal it is from this moment.
I'll tell you where Miss Begum goes from here, and it will surprise nobody if they've ever tuned in anything that I've said about this. She's knackered, man. She's absolutely screwed here because she's being used as a political football. Personally, I find it unbelievable, but also very believable about the hypocrisy of so-called Great Britain, that people are shouting and screaming outside of a hotel housing temporarily some of the most vulnerable people on the planet. Like saying, get them out, get them out, get them out, because there was a video went round of a nonce who's who lives in the hotel temporarily, trying to nonce up a 15-year-old girl. So having one reaction, and to be honest with you, I kind of agree with it to a degree. I mean, it kind of nonsense running around your community and nothing getting sorted. Like, if the authorities let you down, I understand why people move to that. I also understand why that people are ripe for manipulation by the far right. And as we showed the other day, that is actually happening there. It's happening across the country. But anyway, we would digress. Shamima Begum has been utterly, like, let's just interrogate this, shall we? Like, because some people still don't know, like, what's occurred. So here's from The Guardian earlier. Shamima Begum loses appeal against removal of British citizenship. Special Immigration Appeals Commission decides revocation of her citizenship was lawful. Woo. So anyway, at I_Mukhtar on Twitter says, I've just watched the Shamima Begum documentary. I assume, this is me talking, by the way, I assume there's a documentary on. I've not seen it. I know a bit about the case, so I thought we'd run with this today. It's clear that she was groomed and was smuggled to Syria by a Canadian spy at the age of 15. Obviously, Canadian spies, they work very closely with CIA, British intelligence, and other Western intelligence agencies. So, then, Mukhtar goes on to say, then British government covered it up and used her as propaganda to create a two-tier citizenship system. I'd just like to say the last bit is Mukhtar's opinion, but you could make a case for that being, for the veracity of that statement, I suppose. So anyway, this is from Save Our Citizenships on Twitter. The verdict for her appeal of the removal of her UK citizenship for joining Islamic State, which started in November last year, is about to be delivered. This was tweeted obviously before it was delivered in the last hour. Shamima Begum ended up in Syria as a 15-year-old with two other girls in 2015. Here's a recap of what's occurred so far. Shamima was trafficked as a minor by a Western spy. Our authorities were aware of this. Our authorities were also complicit in the cover-up. They further broke the law by depriving her of her citizenship and rendering her stateless, and she's been abandoned in a camp ever since. Obviously, you just want to make clear that some of that is Save Our Citizenship, their conjecture, opinion, but again, there could be a case made for the veracity of those statements quite easily. Some would say, lush the language we have to use these days, isn't it, chaps? So anyway, look, we know that Britain is riddled with hypocrisy, but this is so stark. It's just like the reason being is they're trying to claim that, like, on the one hand, 15-year-old girls are vulnerable and should be protected, and. But if they're brown, then they know exactly what they're doing, joining the terrorists and all of that. Don't even watch the fact that Western intelligence appear to be involved in this whole process. Let's not look at that. Let's just get wound up by billionaire news outlets like GB News to hate somebody who's like, that was 2015. So that's 8 years ago. She was 50. She's 23 still, right? She was taken on a wing and a prayer by ISIS, well, by the secret services, by the looks of it as well. We need to look further into that. And used as essentially a baby factory for ISIS fighters while they built what they thought was some new caliphate. She was 15, man. 15. Like, think about 15-year-old girls, right? I have worked in the community sector with young people. I did it for 2 decades, right? I obviously came into contact with a lot of 15-year-old girls. Most of them, like, don't know their arse from the elbows, newsflash. All of them are 15, so they don't have the life experience, even if they are a bit more mature intellectually for their age, to actually, like, sort of stress test things. That's called just, like, being a 15-year-old human being. Like, that cuts across most things. It doesn't matter whether you wear a hijab or not. A hijab doesn't automatically imbue a person with the ability to make better decisions than a 15-year-old girl who doesn't. Like, this is weird shit, but it should go without saying. But it needs to be said because the propagandists in this world want to change the meaning of things. They want to have us think it's perfectly normal to assess two different 15-year-old girls, one on the street in Liverpool and one being taken away from the streets of London, as completely different entities, completely different beings. Like, shut up. Do you realize how stupid that sounds? But yeah, we see this left and right, all over the place, by ghouls. Ghouls. Shall we see what the ghouls are up to? Yes, every day. So here's some ghouls. This is at, I'm not even going to say it actually, but like, who cares? But anyway, this is a ghoul. This is like two pictures of Shamima and Shamima Begum to find out today if she's allowed back in the UK. I'd right, you start with the capitals, everybody. Capitals, caps locks on, strap yourself in. We need to riot if this filth is allowed back into our country. A Union flag emoji. There's a fist in the air. It's not a black one. John was very careful to select the white one. It's not the yellow Simpsons one either. That is just the default. It's the white one. So he's chose that. Okay. Some angry emoji mouth and then the England flag. I bet it made him feel big and powerful. And it, but like them capitals, I bet he's got a slight little semi on. And he's just sitting there thinking, secretly fancy Shamima on the right now. Which is like one of them mad things I bet's going on in these weird, sexually fucked up right-wing arseholes. So there you go. John there on Twitter. We're coming with the unreconstructed racism. We've got the slightly reconstructed racism from Martin Daubney, who's some kind of like salacious crumb to Lawrence Fox. Lawrence Fox's jabber within the Reform Party, or whatever they're calling it this week, for their grift. This guy used to be, I absolutely despise this fucker. He's just like the classic winding up for engagement to get himself gigs on GB News and other stuff. But he used to be the editor of Loaded in the 90s and was just an absolute boorish fucking dafty. So anyway, he's like saying ISIS bride and latterly designer terrorist. Mad, isn't it? Like, they just come out with this shit. Shamima Begum to find out today if she's allowed back in the UK. Public anger will be off the scale if an enemy of the state who wanted us to remove from the face of the earth lives at taxpayers' expenses for life. Yeah, right. Anger is off the scale because of fucking dickheads like you, Martin, using emotive language like that. Like, it's dafty bingo, but it works because, you know, there's like, let's interrogate it, let's look. It's like put the words together: ISIS bride and latterly designer terrorist. It's just like put those two things together, and like, what do you find? You just find like these sort of sparks which ignite anger, and anger is very high anyway because obviously it's a time of scarcity. And any like animal, which a human is like, you know, acts differently when there's scarcity. Like, you see it in the migration patterns of animals and other things, and we are no different because scarcity can come from climate and other things, and we'll talk about that in a bit with the food rationing when we come on to that. More from the ghoul that is Daubney. This is the type of shit that he's putting out at the minute, right? There's a map of Britain where some of the grooming gangs were, right? Funny how the same liberals who suddenly care about the grooming of Shamima Begum never cared about the grooming of thousands of poor white girls in towns like Rotherham and Telford, etc. Listen, I know that this is going to like jar some people to hear this because it's the repetition of propaganda which makes like it jar. Shamima Begum and grooming gangs have nothing whatsoever to do with each other at all. Nothing. Like, people like him have been linking these two things together, and the unspoken thing that they leave there is like, you know, quiet for a reason. That she's brown and she's Muslim. That's like, you know, a link, because the majority of the protagonists in those grooming gangs, like just the savagery of it, were from Pakistani Asian descent. So that's what he's doing. He's trying to link these two things as one and the same, and it's very successful because a lot of people don't like see Shamima as a 15-year-old girl, which is what she was when she was trafficked. They see her as the ISIS bride and all of this shit that like horrible ghouls like Daubney come out with. There's another one with here, man. Like, look at the crack here. He's posted like there's some kind of Times magazine feature. The utterly grotesque rehabilitation of ISIS bride Shamima Begum continues in a fawning 8-page Times magazine feature. Why does our media side with a terrorist who blames racism, grooming, and the far right, but never herself? And this is more of this bad faith shit. Why does our media do that? They don't. Look at the state of the media, man. Like, look at every study in terms of like how it's used to manufacture consent for a 15-year-old. Well, she was 15 at the time. She's 23 now. For a 23-year-old lass who was trafficked and groomed when she was 15 to lose her citizenship. And how on earth this court, right, has like just went, oh yeah, that's completely fine. Fortunately, I think she's got another right to appeal, and she should, because it's absolutely disgusting. Shamima Begum is as British a citizen as I am, and you are, if you indeed have a British passport, and it's like our problem. Like, what do you want to do? Like, just kind of, well, I know some people do just want to throw it to the four winds, but like, do you honestly think that like it ends here? Because it won't. Their tails are up here, and they'll start doing this left and right, and then chucking it into the media, so people aren't talking about the fact that we can't put heat in our radiators and eat food. Like, this is what these things are being used for, and I'm going to start looking into, and I think you should too. And if you find anything, let us know about what the crack is here with Western intelligence agencies, because if you're just tuning in now, go back earlier on. Apparently, some kind of Canadian spy was involved in trafficking her, which obviously links into the wider Western intelligence services, including Britain's. Strange, mad, but also we're the ones that are having to like pay the piper when it comes to this type of shit. Mental. Let's see what's in the comments before we move on to the next thing. El Boido is saying, wasn't Shamima essentially a victim of grooming, and the British government is punishing her for being a victim to that grooming? Yeah, it's basically the crack, as far as I'm concerned. Susie's saying, hello, mate. Nice to see you. We on about Shamima, that last who was going by us at 14. It was actually 15, without being a pedant. But yes, you're quite right. You bloody liberal. But yeah, she was trafficked, and now we've got more than half the British population, it seems, having their consent manufactured by ghoul billionaire media. So everybody gets up a height about this in a completely wrong way. People should be getting up a height about this, saying we need to be bringing her home. But also the intelligence services do need to be like pumping her for information and finding out what the hell goes on with these things so they can prevent it in the future. Like, it's a completely open goal of intelligence gathering, but it seems to me using her as some kind of political hot potato is more important to the establishment, which obviously controls and manages the secret services. So it sounds dodgy as all hell. And let's start like saying what the hell's up here, because at the end of the day, this young lass, 15 years old, you can't have it both ways. You can't be shouting and hollering outside of a hotel that temporarily has asylum seekers in, and like, you know, right, for me, rightly so. A lot of the time, you can't have nonsense running around your community trying to tap up 15-year-old lasses. It's horrific stuff. So, you know, if the authorities aren't dealing with that, and they should be, same as any other nons, then you're going to get the far right whipping this stuff up, just like they've done with Shamima Begum, and just like they'll continue to do with Shamima Begum, because there she sits in a camp in northern Syria, and, you know, it's worse than the prison because she's in limbo. They're saying like explore like Bangladeshi citizenship, which was one of the reasons they used legally when Javed was Home Secretary to revoke her citizenship. Bangladesh came out that day, I recall, and says, no, this isn't the crack. She's not legally entitled. So now she sits in limbo. And part of today's ruling was about that she was advised to explore that route wave to get citizenship there, but they don't want to. So crazy. I mean, this is a precedent that is not good, and people with dual nationality or dual heritage, I know they're worried about this stuff. Of course they are, and why wouldn't you be? So anyway, my friends, Jez has popped up. The right wing always supporting the victims of grooming. Nice to see you, Jez. And he goes on to say it's a great bit of recruitment material for ISIS too. Well, exactly, aye. It's like, look at the barbarism of like the people that we stand against, he said. Yeah. Susie's clarified, and I think she's right, actually. She says it was my understanding that she was 14 when they began grooming her, which I think is important. Yeah, it's dead important. Yeah, dead right, mate. Thanks for putting us straight on this. So she left when she was 15, began when she was 14. Spotty Dergs, nice one. Right, we'll move on real quick to the rationing of food. Look at this, man. Who do you think you were kidding, Mr. Hitler? Anybody reading the Daily Express loves this. It's like, right, we got what we secretly wanted back to the late 1940s, early 1950s. Rationing of fruit and veg to last week's screeches the Daily Express. Screech! Look at the size of that headline. So, what they're trying to crack on, right? And who I mean by they, the establishment, the right wing, people who get a little chub on for Brexit. There could be anybody. What they're trying to crack on is like, it's nothing to do with Brexit. It seems like some kind of reflex action, nothing to do with Brexit. We'll go a bit further into this in a minute, right? But I just want to show you this. This from The Independent. UK sleepwalking towards food shortages, farmers warn. It goes on. This is Kieran, the Euro courier, who I follow. It's quite interesting. He's a courier, obviously, who drives around in a van between the UK and Europe, and he's been tweeting about what goes on between those two, and it's very interesting to inform yourself. What he says here is, and he's posted 2 pictures of abundant food shelves in the EU. If you want to find endless fresh food with multiple choices of each product, I highly recommend a trip to the European mainland. There's no shortages there. UK slim pickings now with the same tedious offerings every week. He hashtags it Brexit. Right, let me show you this video from the Daily Racist. I shall share this tab. I'm just doing filler talk until I can get it all pulled up nicely on the screen for you. Like this. It's back. So this is from the Daily Racist, and this is a guy who lives... He's not a racist. Anyway.
So I keep seeing posts...
2 seconds, I'll just stop that. He's not a racist. It's at Shahab S. Joy on Twitter, but he calls himself the Daily Racist. I don't know more about him, but I'm intrigued. I want to know more. I want to see what Shohab has to say. But first, this, Shohab himself.
So I keep seeing posts on Twitter saying there are food shortages in the UK.
Oh, Shohab, where have you gone, sir?
And someone always pops up and says, it's the same all over Europe. And I live in Europe, so I figured that never happens. So in my 25-minute walk from here back home, I'm going to stop everywhere where they sell fruits and see if there's any shortages.
So for audio people, Shohab's video, he's going around all these random food shops, this little corner shop, and guess what?
Number 1. Supermarket number 2. Tomates, por favor. No, gracias. Got my tomatoes. Gracias, chef. Oh yeah. Oh, I gotta pay. Well, I got my tomatoes. Next week I'll be buying some eggs.
So there you go. There's loads. I mean, I've seen pictures of them all over the place, everywhere. So, like, it's absolute nonsense. The upshot of it is this, right? Like, and I mean, it should seem like obvious, but the upshot, they're saying that the weather is a factor, right? And it is a factor. There's no doubt about that. But why isn't there shortages in the EU? So it really boils down to something very simple. Are you going to be asked to do all the extra paperwork that you need to do after Brexit if you haven't got a surplus of products to sell and you can sell them frictionless within like the biggest trading block on the planet that you're already in? That's it. That's literally what's going on. Also, climate change. Why is the weather went the way that it's went? Well, it's went the way that it's went because of climate change, and we're just starting to see the issues that appear as a result of it. But again, right-wing ghouls, grift. Daubney again, I'll pick on him again. Bad weather, no chance. Food shortages must be because of Brexit. He was a massive Brexit nonce. Tomato shortage in UK supermarkets as bad weather hits crops in Europe and Africa. Trying to claim, as he's wanted to do, that nothing's the fault of Brexit because that's his grift that he's got to keep going. But like the thing is, there's so many of these absolute wrong-uns, right, who are just using this as a grift, and the propagandists and people want to talk about it like it's a conspiracy, and a lot of people like they're not even involved in no conspiracy. What they're involved in is seeing what drives engagement for them, which like tends to lead to money. And all these other gigs that they're popping up with. So they'll just say any old shit. And the problem with that is quite clear. It's radicalizing people's nanas, and they're the people who are voting. So this is from The Guardian. Outrageous oil firms rake in huge profits while bills soar. This also it's one of the, I think, the Mirror by the font there. Brazen profiteers, oil giant makes $7 billion in 3 months while we all struggle with fuel costs. Reason I brought those things up, the likes of Daubney, climate change deniers, they'll never talk about how there should be a big windfall tax on these producers because we're not got to start like handling all the damage that they've caused. But they'll invoke the weather when it suits them when Brexit's in the sight, because the top and bottom of it is food shortages are happening because of Brexit in the UK, because they're not happening in the EU at all. Not even a thing. So if anybody's telling you any different, send them this video or tell them yourself. On the basis of this video, it isn't happening. So what's happening in the UK, innit? Bad things. And I would say, like, I've thought about this, and I thought about this like earlier when I was putting this together with me eyes like piss holes in the snow with me sleep deprivation. But sometimes you do the best work when you're delirious. And I was thinking like propaganda and propagandists and propagandism is the number one issue that we have in the UK. I mean, it's an issue everywhere, but it's almost like the UK is being used as some kind of mad petri dish just off the coast of mainland Europe, just to see how much people can actually take before they break. And when they like try and come up with like evidence-based stuff relating to it, just being gaslit to the high heavens, making people so atomized and divided that they think that they're part of some like holy crusade wearing a tunic like a football team. And it's dividing us, and I don't know what the answers are, but I'm going to keep turning up just like you do, and we'll figure it out as we go along. I'm actively reaching out to people who don't share the same views as I do. So if you got a problem with that, it's not my problem really, isn't it? I'm not living my life for anybody else, and I'm deeply committed to trying to like bring about some unity. So that's going to happen. I just think like there is hope. there's always hope, and there's only no hope when we say so. But like, where people have people, like, it's an industry to divide us now, because there's infrastructure like set up around that, like through the ad-based revenue system for making content such as this. And I'm telling you, I'm never going to make content, as people want to call it, for that. I want to make it from a place of integrity, and it's going to be on an evidence-based. And I'm going to tell you when I think something's my opinion, or the opinion of somebody that will use like Mukhtar's tweet before, because it's important. But you just look at all of these like grift and shit stirrers, and it's making people's lives worse. It's a big part of the mental health crisis, man, because it's driving families apart, and we all need each other more than ever now. But we're all not empty vessels. There's still a choice that we all have to make, but a lot of people have chose hate, haven't they? Anyway, hoping to see you tomorrow. But before we do go, we'll see what's in the comments. Really pleased just popped up, actually, because it's been so sporadic this week, hasn't it? It's hopefully my dogs are going to be well soon and we can get my life back. But I'm just looking forward to seeing my partner and getting everybody together. So what we got? Jez is saying, Mog said food would be 20% cheaper after Brexit, and not being able to buy stuff because of empty shelves is even cheaper. In your face, Woogie Ramonas. Those shelves are full of sovereignty. Empty sovereignty. Jacqueline's popped up. Hi, everyone. Sorry I missed the first half hour. It's all good, mate. I'm just pleased that you're here. James Summerson, Radical Nanas. Radical. Like, seriously, dude, man. Like, some of the most radicalized people that I'm coming into contact personally at the minute, before anybody comes rocking in like I'm some ageist or whatever. Clearly not. But they're out of their minds. And look, the top moment is, if people are going to sit around in lockdowns for as long as people have, watching this like parade of shit, and the likes of Martin Daubney like on the screen telling them all of that kind of shit that we've seen in those tweets, I don't blame people, man. Like, not really. I mean, maybe it's a little bit I do, because we're all sentient beings, and like, people we've all got these, like, I'll hold a phone up to the screen, audio people. We've all got an ability to analyze and critically reason and whatever. But anyway, we'll take some more. James Summerson Hollywood says, it pisses me off when food shortages are blamed on weather or war in Ukraine, when the shortages aren't happening in countries in the European single market. Definitely, well, kid, and as we've detailed in this show today, if you just join one now, that's absolutely a fact. So tell a friend to tell a friend. I'll post this video with a thumbnail at 7 p.m. every day. So if you want more people to know, get them involved in that premiere, but also share that link with them. You can share this one as well, but this is really for the live crew, you know what I mean? We edit it up and clean it up a little bit and then send it out for 7. So please do let people know. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Right, see what else we've got. Mark Kirkwood's in the house. Hello, little kid. Yes, Brexit, elephant in the room. If you mention it, you're accused of spin, which is bonkers. You're not wrong, mate. It really is bonkers. It's kind of like this sort of it's weird, because there's so many like articles of faith like that, which glue together these like atomized sort of football teams that people seem to self-select themselves in. And it's like the kind of Jeremy Corbyn's a baddie gang. Like, it's all based on like, mistruths, misdirection, half-truths, bullshit. The Brexit stuff is wild, man. It's just like, no, nothing at all is to do with Brexit. You can't talk about that. Even the BBC, well, let's say even the BBC's doing it as well. Like, it seems the whole media establishment's part of it. And I'm not some rabid like Remainer or whatever. People know this. Like, I did vote Remain, but it was too gritted teeth. I must have said that sentence 100 times. So I just want to put that in there as an asterisk, in case people are sitting there thinking it's like, oh, you got it wrong, Brexit people. I understand why people voted leave. I do. I get that. I get what people are going through and had been going through. And it looked, I don't want to get it and say why, because there's so many different reasons, and I don't want to offend people, not really. Not unless they come with the offense towards me, of course. But I get it. I understand why people are like they are. And I think the job on now is to bring hope, and that's not exclusive to just one group of people that you like. It should be for everybody. We should be like overcoming the Martin Daubneys of this world and other right-wing talking head grifter ghouls by just melting away their bullshit, just by being who we are. But also just being open to listening to people who don't necessarily share the views that we share between us, because Milk the Cow's never been and never will be an echo chamber, even though our detractors try and claim that it might be, which is weird because they actually do it on our social media, which is kind of hypocrisy incarnate that they don't tend to see. But never mind. I can't believe Zeb has got through 40 minutes of the show without haranguing me for a poo. The poor lad might just be absolutely knackered, as I am. And just thanks for being here. It's been a tough old time recently, but here we are, still standing, Huns, nin snakes. Get the Gloria Gaynor on, Huns, because we will survive. And hopefully, if I didn't have a heart attack through lack of sleep, now I'm gonna do, see you tomorrow. patreon.com/cowdaily, patreon.com/cowdaily. Free Shamima Begum. Free the tomato from the clutches of those EU bastards, and we'll come back together to talk the shite again. Marking my words, I'm delirious. Bye. Last time I was like this, I saw He-Man in a turned off television set whilst high on a 3-day speed binge. See you later, Huns. Then snacks anymore. It's just us and the bands. Tra.